Today, we're looking at Colorverse Quasar. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Colorverse Quasar is a blue ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Pilot Metropolitan with a medium nib to take my notes for this video. Before we get to the writing samples though, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see a true blue, a good primary blue. It pushes its way immediately away from the water, and it starts showing its blue and becomes very dark and rich across the top. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And it doesn't flee as much immediately. It really does take a little bit of pushing. It leaves a little bit of that blue behind, but that's about it. It really doesn't look like I'm expecting to see very much resistance or permanence for this ink. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles it fairly well. The blue that's mixing its way in, I think, came from the smear. Yes, it does spread out from that extra fine to about a medium, but it doesn't blow out, become fuzzy and unreadable, making me feel kind of okay using this in a note-taking situation. That's a little surprising considering how water did. With only 30 seconds on the page, it's really reactivating and lifting all of that ink off the page. Now I say all of it because at the very center, we see a dot of the white of the paper coming through. That shows me that given just a little more time, water is all that it's going to need. Now pen flush does everything that water does, nothing more. I don't think you're going to need the pen flush. The 1/3 bleach solution, as is common, is completely removing it from the paper, but there's no need to use a 1/3 bleach solution for this. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Colorverse Quasar has a viscosity of 2.76, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Colorverse Quasar has an average dry time of 16 seconds, making it, well, normal. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at that Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. What we see up here is really transfer from when I had the sample kind of on the back. That's not the ink doing that. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Beautiful tone of blue here. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 11 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show no color variation, and we didn't get any. And the smear test, I do not think you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River. My goodness, paper going all over. Tomoe River has no bleeding, it has ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. It is a lighter tone than we get to see with the other stuff. It's just slightly lighter. It's a little bit more of the blue, where it's a lovely dark blue everywhere else. It gets a little more vibrant with the 1.1 for being a little lighter of a tone. The extra fine is a slightly darker tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It takes 25 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any. In the smear test, there's no way that you recover this if you smear it. Rhodia, we get no bleeding, no ghosting. Let me kind of focus out there a little bit. There we go. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone that we got with the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. It took 12 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. The smear test, I do not think you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Life paper. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. In the smear test, I still think you couldn't recover that. Look at the tone though. We see no tone change for having a different color background, which is nice. It's just a denser ink. It's more opaque. Lavender paper. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1 with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 7 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. And the smear test, still couldn't recover it. Franklin Christoph. And this is where this ink starts having a little bit of trouble because we have a lot of bleeding spots coming through. So if this is your favorite type of paper, maybe don't use this ink. It is bleeding through all over, but not all the way through the page. If you're very sensitive to this sort of thing, you would not be able to use the back of the page, but it does not touch the page underneath. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. It is a lighter tone than we got with the extra fine and the medium. So it's a very nice blue right there. Although the dark rich blue is also very nice. The extra fine is a slightly darker tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. In the smear test, on this one, I believe you could recover it, but then again, it's also bleeding through on the page a bunch. That is all that I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding inks that look like Colorverse Quasar, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I've chosen Robert Oster's Royal Red because it is a very nice red with this blue. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Colorverse Quasar? This is a perfectly boring blue ink. Now, boring doesn't mean anything bad. It means it's very predictable in its colors and tones that come out of every nib and wetness of pen that I've tried it in. It is always the same blue. Very predictable. Boring is a good thing for that reason. And this ink is just that. It's a very nice blue. My only problem is the expense of this particular very nice blue ink makes it a little prohibitive to me just because there's so many good blues that I don't know that you have to spend that much to get this one. Thanks for watching.